The Weber Smokey Mountain is one of the most beloved and respected smokers of all time. People swear by it. They've won championships on it. But from my own experiences, as well as reading on Smokey Mountain forums from actual owners, there are 5 complaints that always rise to the top. And some of these complaints are what the Gravity series of generation smokers aims to solve. And so today I want to answer one really important question, which is, has old school finally been replaced by new school? If we were able to go in a time machine and travel back to 1981, we'd find 2 things. 1, a really small James, and 2, the first launch of the Weber Smokey Mountain. But back then, there were no other luxuries. Things like pellet grills were not even a thought yet. And even though offset smokers existed commercially, according to Texas Monthly, they weren't really mainstream available for the backyard until later in the 80s. And so the Smokey Mountain did one thing really well, which is help make low and slow barbecue easy. Not only are they easy to use in competition, very few smokers like this size that you can break down and throw under a tonneau cover in the back of your truck, but this is where a few of the cracks start to show in the Smokey Mountain. In order to pull off those low and slow temperatures, we need to use something like charcoal briquettes. And many people in the community, I know this is like comparing, coffee flavor, don't prefer the taste of briquettes to something like natural lump charcoal. If we were to do a bit of a scale starting from worst to the best, something like natural gas, we're gonna get no flavor. Then I would put pellets next, followed by briquettes, lump charcoal, and of course, real wood splits for maximum flavor. And this is where the Weber Smokey Mountain is sort of designed from a briquette first culture, where even though the Gravity XT behind me can burn briquettes, it's designed to take advantage of what many people in the community prefer for better barbecue flavor, and that's burning real lump and real wood splits. I've gone through hundreds of comments and simplified them down into the 5 most common owner complaints. So the first one that shows up almost everywhere is temperature management. And even though the snake method does an admirable job of keeping things rock steady for a couple hours, that's not to say once the snake hits your real wood chunks that you can't see some pretty dramatic swings for temperatures. And once the temperatures sort of skyrocket or plummet, you could be in a wild goose chase trying to get things back where you were for nice and steady temperatures. The other one is, it's a bit of a notorious leaky bucket. You'll see that in any of the footage that we're gonna have in the cook or any video that I've shared before. But this thing is not airtight, and that sometimes can contribute to a couple things. One, we get some grease leaking out the side and down on your patio, and I'm regularly cleaning that, but it also can make temperature control a little bit more difficult. Number 3 on the list, this is really just a continuation of where we were, but the overnight cook, in terms of, do you trust everything that you have to set it and forget it and walk away and go to sleep without the assistance of any sort of technology to help make sure that expensive cuts of meat like a brisket aren't getting into dangerous zones from a temperature perspective. And 4th on the list, I mentioned earlier, so I'll just be brief here, is flavor. Again, briquettes are what solves this problem of nice steady temperatures. But if we do a survey poll, lump versus briquettes, lump comes out ahead for more people way more often. And the last one, this old muscle car saying, there's no replacement for displacement, and this is especially true on the Smokey Mountain. Even though this is the larger 22-inch model, we run out of space quick. And so some of the upgrades that I've added over the years, if I add all of that list up, we quickly are into identical price territory, and I still haven't solved some of those major complaints in terms of capacity. So without further ado, now that we understand some of the pros as well as the community cons for the Smokey Mountain, what are the people saying about the Gravity XT? Some of the questions, you'll often see things like Flavour, for example, versus a kettle. Having the fire off to the side isn't going to taste as good as something like a kettle. And I just want to say for a second here, that's like saying every Texas Monthly Top 50 barbecue joint that cooks with an offset smoker where the fire is off to the side versus having a separated cook chamber is not what you want to do. And I'm going to call baloney on that one. But I do appreciate, I think the spirit of people who are commenting are saying they just love the way a steak tastes if you sear directly over the coals. But given we are a smoker here and the coals are a solid 3 feet away, and we're using our Gravity XT here as a smoker. Plus, I've already done previous videos where you can turn a quick little hack into getting amazing searing results if you are willing to use the charcoal hopper, if the 700 degrees maximum temperature doesn't do it for you. But that is something that comes up. The other thing that comes up regularly are questions about electronics, living out in the outdoors in terms of rain, snow, and everything that you can throw at them. And like any electronic grill and appliances I've ever tested, you do want to make sure you are following the manual in terms of what they're rated for in terms of being able to be exposed to the elements. I will say, and not to turn this into a product review video, I've done one of those already for the Smoky Mountain as well as the Gravity XT, but if it's not common knowledge, the Gravity XT has a 3-year warranty versus the 1-year warranty on the older models, as well as it's made like a tank. It's got about 40% more weight for the same size as my old Gravity 1050. It's, I think, in my opinion, made really well. Things like the double chamber wall with the gasket, as well as a much more durable firebox with ceramic inserts. All of these things, I think, have addressed it. But that's not to say these aren't the questions that come up. They're good questions if you're going to make that type of investment into a grill. I would remind you, though, by adding the technology and everything that I've done to try and address some of the issues on my Smoky Mountain, we end up at about the same price point. And the third most common question that comes up is, what about grease and grease fires? And so if you are not going to take care of any smoker, and I'm talking about pellet grills, kettles, Smoky Mountains, Masterbuilt Gravity Series, Kamados, or anything in between, if you leave enough flammable substance near a heat source, you can have a problem on about anything. I'm gonna call this a non-starter, or at least if you do proper maintenance in terms of removing the grease tray and disposing of that in between your cooks, you will never have a problem. But that's not to say that some people don't read the instructions or ever clean their grill, and I imagine somebody somewhere has managed to start a fire.
Ryan started the fire! It was always burning, everybody was turning!
And you can do that about anything when you take a flammable substance, a combustible substance, and set it near fire. So some good maintenance and hygiene on no matter what you decide with, whether it's one of these two or any other grill, you are not going to run into that sort of problem. So those are some of the questions that come up. How about what owners are saying in terms of what they love? Well, in no particular order, we'll start with number one, which is, and I've said this before, this is Team Charcoal's answer to the pellet grill. Take everything that you like about pellet grills in terms of automation, smart apps, startup, shutdown, the ability to remotely monitor your cook, and set it, forget it, go to bed, leave that brisket in there all night and wake up to things exactly where you want them to be, but with the added benefit of more flavor. Not only does natural lump or briquettes give more flavor than pellets, in my opinion, but real wood, absolutely, hands down, this adds a lot more flavor. And you've got a couple options with the Gravity XT for maximizing your flavor. You can intermix wood chunks into your charcoal so that they're constantly burning and supplementing smoke. You can add some wood chunks into the ashtray, or if you want the full offset experience, you want to run a wood burning fire only like an offset, you can turn out results comparable to any backyard offset. And this is, again, a separate video. I won't want to go into that, but you have lots of options without sacrificing any of the convenience. And I'd be remiss not to comment on versatility. There is a ton of cooking space in here. I've maxed it out before. I'll put it up. I have to count. I don't remember. It was last year. The amount of ribs that I was able to fit in a Gravity XT. So whether you're smoking, searing, doing griddle cooks, or anything in between, there really isn't anything in the backyard that you can't throw at a Gravity Series smoker and turn out an amazing result. So now that we've gone through some of the pros and the cons as well as community feedback, I think it's about time we fire these up and do some cooking of our own and get the infrared camera out and record some data to see if we can find any other differences in terms about how these two smokers go about their business. So our ribs have been on for just about 2 hours, and I think it's a perfect time to start getting some data in terms of what's going on inside of our smokers. And so to do that, I'm gonna rely on a couple of tools. The first one's going to be an infrared camera, as this allows us to see things inside of our grill that the naked eye can't see in terms of where our heat signatures are and hot spots. Lets us know exactly what we have to work with in terms of a useful cooking area. So starting on the Weber Smokey Mountain, no surprise here, this works exactly like you'd expect, where you've got your fire at the bottom, using our water pan as our heat deflector, and then you can see sort of that hot energy coming right up around the side. So that's where we want to try and avoid some of those outer parts of our cooking grid diameter in order to make sure that we don't burn anything that's going on there. The second tool that I like to use in these situations is an aeronometer. This is just measuring the airspeed velocity coming out of a smokestack. Some grills, like an offset smoker, move a ton of air out of their chimney. You can see smoke and everything flying, and other grills move very little air or none at all, which was a bit of the case in terms of what I was trying to measure in the Smoky Mountain. And this comes back to what I said earlier, where we are a bit of a leaky bucket. Some of that air and smoke was escaping outside of the door, outside of the dome seals. And so even though I tried to hold my aeronometer really close, I wasn't able to get any measurement, as again, some of that air pressure is escaping elsewhere and wasn't able to give me a good reading. Doing the exact same test in the Gravity XT, you can see we have a generous and even temperature spread in a large cooking chamber, which is exactly how I was able to pull off that max rib capacity. And even though I'm only doing 1 rack of ribs today, you can see we've got a nice, generous, even temperature zone for cooking. And on the aeronometer reading, again, there's some good news here. Based on the larger cook chamber, we have more space that needs to get smoke and fire, which means we're burning more fuel. I've often said more fuel is more flavor, and this shows up in the airflow reading where we're able to actually register some air exiting out the rear exhaust vent in terms of showing that we are moving convection airflow. And this should show up in some other tests if we were doing things like chicken, which ironically, now that I mentioned some chicken, is exactly what we're going to add. I just got the call that no pitmaster wants to have when you're already a couple hours into a cook and planning 2 racks of ribs, which is the families that we invited for dinner that said, oh, we can't make it this time, we'll catch you next time. Their plans cleared up and they will be here for dinner later this evening. And so thankfully from other videos, I've got some half chickens as well as some steaks already prepared in the refrigerator that I'm going to get on. And I debated whether or not I even include or mention this in the grill, but since you're gonna see it from here on out when we open things, and sometimes these things happen and it exposes some of the pros and the cons of the grill, I thought, why not bring you along for the ride? So let's get our steaks and our half chicken on each of the grills. So I mentioned earlier at the beginning, I didn't want to turn this just into a taste test where I was like, this one tastes better than that one versus giving you the real information. So even though I absolutely think there's a difference, I'll just highlight some of the differences I saw on camera that you can make your own decision. So starting with the chicken, this is perhaps maybe the most obvious difference. And I suspect coming back earlier when we did the aeronometer reading in terms of moving convection airflow, chicken skin, in order to be crispy, needs air moving. And on the Smoky Mountain, where I tried to bring temperatures up, this is again something that exposes a bit of a limitation when you have to change game plans, is going from my briquettes to adding in some lump to try and get better flavor and or more temperature. The usability here introduces a couple of challenges in doing that, as well as finishing our ribs, since I didn't have as much space. So I dropped in a second grid down below so we can get our chicken and steak up above. When this is all said and done, there's no denying this chicken skin was not what we should say crispy. And while I was able to cook the steak to a medium rare temperature, getting it ready for a sear of about 125 degrees Fahrenheit, I wasn't able to sear. There's not enough energy BTU. I can't just reach down in without getting burned and or removing, again, grease rings and setting all the different pieces throughout the yard. So those were some unplanned but actual real world limitations that you encounter with the Gravity, especially when your plans change mid-cook. The Gravity XT, on the other hand, you see in the ribs some great bark formation in terms of going through those real wood splits and lump charcoal. That was evident in the cook footage all throughout the day. But I think the real telltale difference here that you can see, at least visually, not just what I enjoyed on the taste test, is with the chicken skin being able to get that nice crispy texture, great color and smoke. And when it became time to sear our steaks, we're now a touch of a button and we're up to 700 degrees in a matter of minutes. And we have options here. We could sear steaks. You could do a bunch of steaks in the cook chamber where we are at 705 degrees. I think I saw on the control panel. And if that isn't enough real wood fired flavor for you, you can always go for a hack and place a grid on top of your hopper. I don't believe that says to do that in the manual, but I absolutely love the flavor in terms of what you get from a flame-kissed sear and sear the steaks this way. So coming back to how to make sense of everything that we've covered in infrared tests to aeronometer tests to a real world rib smoking low and slow test, which grew into a few extra items with chicken and steak. I wouldn't go so far by any means to say the Weber Smokey Mountain is obsolete. It solved simplifying barbecue for an entire generation, but the Gravity XT solves some of those common complaints that Smoky Mountain owners themselves have been complaining about for years. We get the ability for stress-free, low and slow smoking, overnight automation, more flavor with lump charcoal, more flavor with wood splits, and we've got a ton more capacity in terms of being able to scale up for family events. We are running out of space, even as little as 2 racks of ribs without the ends getting burnt. So space is something that you run into all the time. That is gone as an afterthought in terms of the Gravity series being able to swallow up almost anything that your family can throw at it. And I've said it once before and I'll say it again. I think this side of a full-sized offset, comparing a backyard-sized offset where you're getting sort of anything in that big box range or sort of small patio-sized offsets, this is the best backyard flavor this side of an offset that you can get, but you don't need to spend all day, 14 hours tending to the fire, feeding sticks every 30 to 40 minutes if you don't want to. You can let the controller take the wheel and turn out amazing results. And so while you can't go wrong with either of these two smokers, you're choosing, I think, a lifestyle, a community, and the end result and the space that your family will need. And I think from my own experience, after going through years of trying to solve the problems and adding up to basically the same price point, I think the smart money is on the smart grill. I'm giving the Gravity XT the win in today's test. That's it for today. I'm James from Smoking Out Barbecue signing off. If there was a question I didn't cover, let me know down in the comments or join me on my next Members Live. You can ask me a question face to face, or at least through a computer screen. That's it for today. See you next time.